The bar was packed that night. Laughter echoed, beer glasses clinked, music pounded from the jukebox, and the smell of smoke lingered in the air. But in the middle of that noisy crowd stood a young waitress named Emily, moving from table to table, with a smile that looked warm but was built on exhaustion. She carried trays heavier than her frame should allow, but she didn't complain. For Emily, every shift was more than just work. It was survival. Emily wasn't just a waitress, she was a mother, a daughter, and a fighter. Life hadn't been kind to her. Her father had passed away years ago, her mother was sick and bedridden, and she was raising her little boy all on her own. Every dollar she earned kept food on the table, medicine for her mother and clothes for her son. Nobody in that bar knew the truth behind her tired smile. To them, she was just the girl who brings the drinks. But Emily carried a weight far heavier than any tray of beers. That night, as the neon lights flickered and drunken voices grew louder, a group of bikers roared into the parking lot. They entered the bar like they owned the place. Loud, brash, intimidating. Their leader, a tall, broad man named Cole, carried a reputation that made even the toughest men step aside. He was feared, respected, and untouchable. And when his cold eyes landed on Emily, the room seemed to shrink. Cole had seen many women in his life. He thought he knew them all, broken, desperate, willing to please. To him, Emily was no different. As she approached his table to take their order, one of the bikers made a crude comment. Emily forced a polite smile, ignoring it, keeping her head down. But Cole wasn't one to be ignored. With a smirk, he grabbed her wrist. The bar went quiet. Everyone froze. And then, with one swift motion, he tugged at her shirt, ripping the fabric down the front. Gasps filled the room. Emily's tray fell, glasses shattering across the floor. But what was revealed beneath her torn shirt wasn't what Cole, or anyone, expected. There, pressed against her chest, was a small, faded hospital bracelet. Child's Hospital ID band. She wore it like a necklace tied carefully with a thin chain. The name on it was her son's, Matthew. The room fell into silence. Emily's hands trembled as she clutched the torn fabric against her chest, tears forming in her eyes, but she didn't scream, she didn't beg. She stood there shaking but unbroken. The entire bar stared, not at her body, but at that tiny bracelet that carried more weight than words ever could. Cole froze. Something inside him cracked open. His smirk vanished, replaced by something he hadn't felt in years. Shame. Emily finally spoke, her voice trembling but firm. "You think you know me? You don't know anything. She held up the bracelet. "This is my son's. He's fighting for his life in a hospital bed right now. And every night I'm here, I'm fighting too, just to keep him alive." The bikers shifted uncomfortably, their bravado melting away. The crowd, once frozen, began to whisper. Emily didn't cry out of weakness. She cried because she was tired of hiding her pain. And in that moment, the bar saw her not as a waitress, but as a mother, a warrior, a woman carrying the weight of the world on her fragile shoulders. Cole slowly let go of her wrist. For the first time in years, he felt small. Memories rushed back. His own mother, the sacrifices she made, the times he'd watched her cry in secret while working 2 jobs. He saw Emily not as prey, but as a reflection of the strength he once admired in the woman who raised him. The rest of the night changed. The bikers ordered quietly. Cole, instead of mocking her, paid for everyone's meal in silence. When the bar closed, Emily found an envelope on the counter, stuffed with bills far beyond what she'd make in weeks. No name was written on it, but she knew. It was Cole's way of apologizing. But the story didn't end there. Cole couldn't forget the look in Emily's eyes. For days he thought about her, about the strength it took to stand in front of a room full of people and not crumble. He thought about the child fighting in the hospital, about the woman who never stopped working for him. Something inside him began to change. The man who had built his life on fear and power started questioning everything. Weeks later, Emily came, home from work to find groceries on her doorstep. Then envelopes with cash slipped under her door. Then a ride offered when her car broke down. Each time she never saw who it was, but deep down she knew. Cole wasn't just paying for what he did, he was trying to be better. When her son finally came home from the hospital, Emily walked him into the bar one quiet afternoon. The little boy was pale but smiling, his tiny hands clutching his mother's. Cole happened to be there, sitting alone in the corner. For the first time, Emily approached him, not as an enemy but as someone who recognized change. "This is Matthew," she said softly. The boy looked up at the biker, his innocent eyes, untainted by fear or judgment. Cole's throat tightened. He knelt down, meeting the boy's gaze. "Hey, little man," he whispered. For the first time in years, his voice cracked. From that moment, something unspoken formed between them. Emily never asked for his help, but Cole kept giving it. Not out of guilt anymore, but out of respect. Out of redemption. He became a quiet guardian, always watching, always making sure they had what they needed. The bar never forgot that night, the night a biker ripped a waitress's shirt and found something far greater than he expected. The night a whole room was silenced, not by violence, but by the strength of a mother's love. And in the end, the story wasn't about shame, or fear, or cruelty. It was about how one moment, one act, can change everything. It was about the power of truth, the resilience of the human spirit, and the surprising places where redemption can begin. Emily went on to live stronger, braver, knowing she wasn't alone anymore. And Cole, the man who once lived by fear, discovered something he thought he'd lost forever: his humanity.